Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. In today's video, we'll be breaking down 3 extremely powerful PvP builds for the Dark Zone. These builds are designed for veteran players, but they can be used for beginners as well. So the first build on this list is a Ravenous rifle build using the Ubisoft brand set, which grants a 15% increased mag size and a 20% rifle damage increase. The Ravenous is super overpowered at the moment, and you can really knock players out with a good setup. Also, it's a lot better now because rifles are now fully automatic when you hold down the trigger. The next build on this list is one of my personal favorites, and that's a striker setup with the Bighorn exotic assault rifle. The Bighorn is ridiculously powerful, too powerful in fact. However, the Bighorn is designed for headshots, so it won't be for everyone. But if you can land consistent headshots with this build, oh my god. The damage is unreal. Like, Striker is already such a strong gear set, and when you factor in the Bighorn, the headshot damage gets amplified. The next build up is a deadly hybrid build, using the Capacitor exotic assault rifle. This build has very high weapon damage with a decent amount of survivability. The Capacitor is another strong exotic weapon, and it's also one of my personal favorites in PvP. The base damage on this weapon with this setup is just a little over 130k, so this build hits extremely hard. What's even better is this build has 4 skill tiers, so you can add in a bleed stinger hive for extra skill damage. So without further ado, the next time the like button leaves their phone out unattended, go ahead and pick it up and spam passwords over and over again until it locks them out of their phone for a week. Okay, so let's get into today's video. The Ravenous exotic rifle is a very unique weapon, and it performs very well for PvP. This weapon has multiple functions, and upon firing, you will land primers for each hit on an enemy. These primers can be seen as charges. Shooting from the right shoulder will fire offensive primers, and the left is defensive. And so as you're firing and landing shots, you will be stacking primers. Now these primers can detonate, and that's where the massive damage comes in. The offensive primer will deal out heavy damage after detonation, while the defensive primer will grant you an armor bonus. Now, in order to detonate the primers, you will need to switch shoulders and fire a shot of the opposite primer. So let's say, for example, you're firing the offensive primer on the right shoulder. Well now, when you're ready to detonate it, you'll simply need to switch to your left shoulder, then just fire a shot and boom. Same thing for the left shoulder, which is the defensive primer. So fire a few shots, then when you're ready to detonate, switch shoulders, fire another shot, and bam. So you can see the armor bonus I get after detonating the defensive primer, right? So for the attributes, 10% damage to target out of cover, and the weapon talent, Jerry and Frecky. So get this, when the offensive primer gets detonated, each will deal 100% weapon damage. That's crazy, like that's actually crazy. Also, each defensive primer grants 4% bonus armor, so that can help out a bit with survivability, right? For the secondary weapon, the Black Market RPK-74 for cover fire, and for the mask, a Ubisoft mask with red core weapon damage, both critical hit damage and chance, and a critical hit chance mod. Now for the vest, a Walker Harris vest with blue core armor, both critical hit chance and damage, and a critical hit chance mod. For the talent, I went with Unbreakable since this is a PvP build and I prefer having more survivability. Unbreakable isn't as great as it used to be, but it's still a viable talent to use in PvP. So when your armor is depleted, you actually get 95% armor back. However, this gets reduced to half of that when you're in the Dark Zone. So now for the holster, Picaro's holster for the 10% increased weapon damage, rolled with armor core attribute and critical hit damage. Fox's Prayer knee pads for the 8% damage to target out of cover bonus, which is a really good piece for rifle builds because it comes with a 10% rifle damage bonus since it's an Overlord piece, rolled with armor and critical hit damage. And another piece of the Ubisoft brand set for the 15% mag size and 20% rifle damage bonus, rolled with an armor core attribute and crits. For the backpack, the named Matador Walker Harris bag that comes with perfect adrenaline rush. So whenever you are within 10 meters of an enemy, you will gain 23% bonus armor for 5 seconds. And this can stack up to 3 times. But I think this talent actually got nerfed slightly after the recent title update, but I can't confirm. So if anyone knows about this, I'd love for you to let me know in the comment section. But with the 2 Peace Walker Harris set, you get a 5% weapon damage and damage to armor bonus, which is really nice. Now for the stats, 51% critical hit chance and 151% critical hit damage. Now for the skills, the Defender Drone and Decoy are two of my personal favorites, but feel free to go with whatever you feel comfortable with. For the weapon specialization, I recommend going with Firewall. Firewall is an excellent option for PvP because of the passive talent, Extracellular Matrix Mesh. This will recover 200% of your armor and health over a 10-second span after using an armor kit. This is nice because you get a steady amount of healing over time while you're fighting. Okay, so this next build is very easily the strongest build on the list. I've made a few videos on this striker setup in the past, so for those of you who have seen them, there isn't really much of a difference, just some added headshot mods. And for those who are new to the channel, this is a 4-piece striker setup with the Catharsis exotic mask. I like to play with high survivability, so the way I have this build set up complements my playstyle. So with this build, I'm using the Everyday Carrier Vest, which is a highly viable named gear piece that allows you to utilize more armor kits. This is really nice and it's ideal for solo players because it adds a lot of survivability. So in some of these clips, you can see how I'm able to continuously use armor kits, right? So it makes it a lot easier fighting multiple players when you're outnumbered. You can simply retreat to cover, use an armor kit, and as you're fighting, you'll recover your armor. So with this name vest, the talent Perfectly Efficient works once you use an armor kit. Using an armor kit has a 75% chance of not consuming the armor kit. So in other words, you basically have a 75% chance of getting an armor kit back after using one. And what's even better is that specialization armor kit bonuses are increased by 100%. So since I'm using Firewall with this build, and I recommend you guys do as well because Firewall is amazing for PvP, but since I'm using Firewall, that specialization bonus gives the Extracellular Matrix Mesh a really nice boost. So your armor kits are more potent. Now for the primary weapon, the Bighorn is actually a hybrid weapon, so it can be fired as an assault rifle, fully automatic, and it can also be switched to semi-automatic and fire like a rifle. But this weapon truly shines with headshot builds. So with the talent, Big Game Hunter, headshots will grant 6% headshot damage per shot, stacking up to 25 times. However, at full stacks, you lose 10 stacks every 4 seconds, but getting headshots will delay this effect. Also, you can actually monitor your headshot progress while you ADS. So as you're aiming down sight with the Bighorn, you should see a number right beside the weapon. For the secondary weapon, I'm using the Rock and Roll, which is a named ACS-12 shotgun. Many of you already know this, but for those who don't, this shotgun is great because it helps build striker stacks incredibly fast. Now, if you're a beginner and don't know what striker stacks are, I'll get to that in just a second, but for the mask, I'm using the Catharsis mask because this is a very viable exotic piece. The Catharsis mask is great because of its talent. So with the talent Vicious Cycle, taking damage will build stacks to a cap of 30. Each stack will grant 1.5% weapon damage. So you're essentially getting stronger every time you get hit. But get this, the other great thing about this mask is that once you reach max stacks and take damage, not only will it remove any status effect on you, but it will also release a healing cloud that will heal you and allies in your group for 5% of your max armor for a duration of 10 seconds. So this is a great gear piece to have. For the backpack, I decided to go with the Striker bag for the extra damage increase. So with Striker, 4 pieces will grant you a 15% weapon handling and rate of fire stat bonus, as well as the Striker's Gamble talent. The Striker's Gamble talent works by building stacks, which is really simple. All you need to do is land a shot, and each shot will increase your weapon damage by 0.65%. This can stack up to 100 times, so at full stacks, that's 65% weapon damage. And since I have the Striker bag equipped, I get the Risk Management talent, which bumps that bonus to 0.90% per weapon hit, so that's 90% weapon damage at full stacks. And for the attributes, critical hit damage, and a 10% headshot damage mod, and for the Striker gloves, armor core attribute with 12% critical hit damage. Now for the knee pads, armor core attribute with 6% critical hit chance, and for the Striker holster, armor core with 6% critical hit chance. And for the stats, 28% critical hit chance, 81% critical hit damage, and 145% headshot damage. The crits are low, but the headshot damage is more important because remember, headshots with the Bighorn will increase your headshot damage for each headshot hit. So the more headshot damage, the better. For the skills, the Defender, Drone, and Decoy are my go-to, but feel free to use whatever floats your boat or matches your playstyle. I recommend having at least the defender drone because it will help keep you alive longer by mitigating some incoming damage, so it aids in survivability. Okay guys, the last build on this list is another fun and powerful high weapon damage capacitor build. Now this is also a bit of a hybrid build as well, so you can deal out a decent amount of skill damage. This is thanks to having 4 skill tiers on this setup. But not only that, but by having 4 skill tiers, the capacitor will be getting an additional 30% damage increase, thanks to the talent capacitance. And for those who don't know, I'll touch on that in just a second, but this build will also be utilizing the Ninja Bike Messenger exotic backpack. This bag is truly a viable piece for putting together some amazing hybrid builds. So for the primary weapon, the capacitor with a 10% damage to target out of cover attribute and the talent capacitance. So by shooting enemies, you will build stacks that cap at 40. Each stack will increase your skill damage by 1.5%. However, after 5 seconds, stacks will begin to decline per second. Now, in addition to that, for each skill tier you have, you will gain 7.5% weapon damage. So since this build has 4 skill tiers, that's about 35% weapon damage, right? For the secondary weapon, I'm using the M870 shotgun, which is great for anyone that decides to rush me. Rolled with the talent flatline, flatline will grant 15% amplified weapon damage to pulsed enemies. So it's for this reason that I'm using the linked laser pointer attachment from the Technician weapon specialization. Also, you get an extra skill tier from Technician, which is nice. For the mask, a Brazos piece with armor core attribute, both critical hit damage and chance, and a 12% critical hit damage mod. For the vest, a Fenris group vest with armor core attribute, both critical hit damage and chance, and a 12% critical hit damage mod. And for the talent, Unbreakable for the extra survivability. For the holster, Picaro's holster for the 10% increased weapon damage. And since this is a Brazos piece, I get the 3rd piece set bonus, so skill haste, an extra skill tier, and a bonus 50% mag size, with a critical hit chance attribute. For the knee pads, 1 piece of the Providence defense set, and I get 13% headshot damage as well as 8% critical hit chance, with a skill tier core attribute roll and crits. Now for the gloves, 1 piece Walker Harris for the extra 5% weapon damage and damage to armor, rolled with armor core attribute and crits. Now many of you already know this, but for those who don't, this bag is the reason why I'm able to have 2 pieces of the Brazos set and still get all 3 set bonuses. Same thing with the Fenris vest, I only have 1 piece equipped and I get the reload speed bonus. This is all thanks to the talent Resourceful. This talent basically slots in with any equipped gear or brand set item to fulfill a requirement towards unlocking its bonus. So you can unlock multiple set bonuses simultaneously. For the stats, about 58% critical hit chance and 159% critical hit damage. And for the skills, I'm running the Decoy and Bleed Stinger Hive. I recommend using the Bleed Stinger Hive for that extra skill damage. Also, the Explosive Seeker Mine works really well too. It can help by staggering players, giving you an advantage. This is Prajna. Thank you so much for watching, and if you made it to the end of the video, you're truly an amazing person. To all my channel members, I love you guys. Thank you so much for being a member of the channel. Like always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave them for me in the comment section. Also, if anyone is interested or needs assistance with in-game activity and stuff like that, then check out the Sword Gaming Discord server. Good luck farming, and don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Keep it cool, keep it classy, and see you in the next video. Peace out.